All right, math friends. This week we're still in section 6.1, so we're still talking about solving equations and inverse operations. So if I do one thing to get there, I have to do the opposite to undo it and get back to where I started. Okay, but this time we're just going to look at a couple more examples that take us into a slightly different area where we're going to be writing equations to model our own we're going to be writing the equations ourselves. Okay, so we have a situation, and we have to turn the situation into an equation. Okay, so we're doing the modeling ourselves instead of it being given to us. Okay, so we'll see what that means. We'll look at this example and figure it out. Okay, so we're going to start here with example 3. It says a rectangle has length 3.7 centimeters and a perimeter 13.2 centimeters. So the first thing we have to do, write an equation that can be used to determine the width of the rectangle. So we know the length, we want to find the width. Solve the equation, and then verify the solution. Okay, so remember what perimeter means. Perimeter means the distance all the way around the outside. So we could get that by saying length plus width, right? Because there's two sides that are the same length and two sides that are the same width. So we could say length plus width plus width. Or we could even say, we could shorten that and say, well, we said length 2 times, so we'll just do 2 times the length plus 2 times the width to get that perimeter, okay? So let's see how we're going to do this, okay? So what are we going to write? Okay, let's see how we do it here. So it says, let W centimeters represent the width of the rectangle. Okay, whatever, right? We don't know what it is, so we'll say it's W. Okay, we could say it's P. We could say it's J. Okay, but because the word is width, a lot of times they'll use a letter that goes with the word. Okay, so we know that with a rectangle we have 3.7. There's length, and there's width and width. So we would have 2 of those plus 2 of those equals the perimeter, right? So here's the perimeter. 13.2 equals 2 times this plus this. So the way they're writing it is 2 times that, right? So here it is 1 time, here it is another time, okay? 2 times 3.7 plus W equals 13.2. So now how are we going to solve that? We have to figure out what that W is. So there's 2 parts here, okay? There's 2 things we have to do. We have to, there's going to be, we have to undo this multiplication, and we have to undo that addition. Okay, so we have to figure out what are we going to do first. Okay, so we could use inverse operations here. Okay, so we're thinking, when I started, I said, okay, I start with W. I add 3.7. Okay, so this plus 3.7. That's how I got here. That. And then I do that 2 times, times 2. Okay, that times 2. Then I did times 2 to get there. So what do I undo first? The last step. So my last step was times 2, so I'm going to do divided by 2. So I start with this thing, I divide by 2. Then, to undo W plus 3.7, I do take away 3.7, I get back to W. Okay, so let's see how that helps us. If we start with our equation, okay, and we said the first thing we're going to do is we're going to divide by 2. Okay, so I divide this thing by 2, okay, that side of the equation, but I also divide that perimeter that we knew by 2. So 13.2 divided by 2. Let's see what's going to happen next. Okay, so we did that. We divided both sides by 2. Okay, so I did the one side divided by 2 was 6.6. The other side divided by 2 was 3.7 plus W, right? Because that used to have brackets around it. It said 2 times that. So when we divided by 2, really what happened was that 2 and that 2 right there sort of canceled out. 2 divided by 2 equals 1. So we're just left with 3.7 plus W. And the other side was 13.2 divided by 2. So we have 13.2 divided by 2 is 6.6, and then equals 3.7 plus W. So now, to undo this plus, okay, we have to undo that plus. we're going to do take away. Take away the part we want to get rid of. We want W all by itself. Okay, so we're going to say 3.7, take away 3.7 is 0. 6.7, take away 3.7 is that. Okay, so if we subtract 3.7 from one side, we have to do the same thing on the other side because we're saying that this side is equal to this side. So if we make a change on one side to make the exact same change on the other side, so if we take away 3.7 here, take away 3.7 there. So we have W equals 2.9. Okay, another method. Let's see what they show us for another method. Let's go right to here. Okay, so we start with the same equation. 13.2, that was our perimeter all the way around, equals 2 times length plus width, right? 3.7 plus W. Here's the equation. Use the distributive property to expand that. So that means we do 2 times that, 2 times that, right? The stuff we were doing with we did a bunch of that with our polynomials, right? So this just stays 13.2. We're not doing anything weird over there, okay? And we're not changing this side. We're just rearranging it, okay? So we did 2 times 3.7 plus 2 times W. Okay, 2 times 3.7 plus 2 times W. It's the same thing. We just rewrote it a different way. So 13.2 equals, okay, so what is 2 times 3.7? 7.4. What is 2 times W? 2 times W. Okay, so it's just 2W. Okay, so now we want to get W alone. So we get rid of that 7.4, and that's held in there with a plus. Okay, 7.4 plus that. So we want to get rid of 7.4. That means we'll do the opposite of plus. We'll take it away. Here it is. 7.4, take away 7.4. But if we're taking it away on this side, we're going to have to take it away on this side because those two sides are equal. Okay, so subtract 7.4 from each side. We end up with 13.2 minus 7.4 gives us 5.8. Okay, and now over here, 7.4 minus 7.4 is 0, so we just have the 2W. So that's good. We're getting where we want to get. So we have 5.8 equals 2W. If we want just W, not two of them, just one, that means we have to divide by 2. Get rid of that 2. So if we're dividing the right side by 2, we divide the left side by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 5.8 divided by 2 is 2.9. And see how we have the same answer here as we do here? Same thing. Okay, so if we want to verify, a lot of times it'll say verify your solution or check your solution. What does that mean? That means we have to go in and make sure it works. Okay, so if we know that perimeter means the distance all the way around the outside, one way we could do that is we could say, okay, 3 plus 7 plus 3.7 plus 2.9 plus 2.9. Does that give us 13.2? If it does, then it's right. If it doesn't, then we did something wrong, okay? Another way to say that is, okay, I have 2 each of 3.7 plus 2.9, okay? So this is length plus width times 2, okay? What is it? 13.2, good, check mark, done, okay? Okay, second example, using an equation to solve a percent problem. Okay, 7% of a number is 56.7, right? Then solve an equation to determine the number and check your solution. So if n is the number, 7% of the number, we would write as 7% of always means times, okay? 7% of n, okay? And if we write 7% and remove the percent sign, percent means fraction out of 100, right? So 7 divided by 100 is 0.07. So we can change 7% to 0.07, 0.07 n. Okay, so that's how we write 7% of a number. It's not 0.7 because that would be 70%, right? Okay, so 7% of a number is 56.7. So 0.07 n equals 56.7. Something happened upstairs. Don't want to know. Okay, so we have 0.07 n equals 56.7. If we want n all by itself, we have to undo how it's connected. Remember, it's connected with a times, with a multiplication. So we have to undo multiplication by using division. Okay, so 0.07 times n. We want just n. We have to divide it by 0.07, part that's held in there with a multiplication. Okay, so divide that by 0.07, but then we have to divide the other side by 0.07 because they're equal. And if we do that, 0.07 divided by 0.07 is 1, 1n equals, this divided by this is 810. The number is 810. Does that make sense? 7% of 810. Well, if we did an estimation before we verify it, right? 7% is a little less than 10%, and 10% of 810 would be around 80, okay? So is it just a bit below 80? Yeah. So let's see. We already think it's probably right. Let's check. So 7% of 810, we would do 0.07 times 810. So remember, 7% is 7 divided by 100. And that is equal to 56.7. Hooray! The solution is correct. Good luck with your work this week. See you in class.